Hey everyone, it's Jaeyoung here, and welcome to another Overwatch experimental card overview. I hope all of you are doing well and keeping safe at home. I'll be keeping you company for a little while as I go over the changes in this video. So, just for clarity, this experimental mode is still on patch 1.47 of the live servers and was released on the 12th of May. So let's get to it. Ana's Biotic rifle has received a healing nerf, reducing its healing per shot from 75 down to 70, which now so happens to match how much damage it does. So whether players want to admit it or not, Overwatch has had a whole bunch of power creep in terms of the amount of healing in the game over the past few years, and while I'm not sure if Ana's healing has to be toned down, I kind of get it. Losing 5 HP a shot might not seem like a whole bunch, but it does kind of add up when you're spamming shots into a tank that you're pocketing, and the reduced healing is felt a little bit more when used in conjunction with her Biotic grenade. To be honest, due to how mechanically well players had to pilot Ana in order to maximize the value gotten out of her kit, she never really felt like an overly oppressive hero, so I'm not too sure about this nerf, but like I said, I kind of get it. The next support we're going to talk about is Mercy, who has received a flat out buff, increasing her Caduceus Staff's healing from 50 to 55 health per second. All you Mercy mains lurking on the Overwatch forums can finally take it easy for a bit now. I think the last time she received a buff was a little more than half a year ago, where they made her Valkyrie beams ignore enemy barriers. Anyway, this is a decent change of course to make her more competitive of a pocket healer than when compared to the other supports. This change will be particularly annoying to Winston players as this puts Mercy's base healing almost back to where it could completely stalemate Winston's Tesla Cannon's 60 damage a second. Moving on, Moira's Biotic Orb has received a number of changes, with its damage radius being reduced from 5 to 4 meters, its projectile speed increased from 16 to 20, and to likely compensate for its speed increase, its projectile duration has been reduced from 10 to 7 seconds. Okay, so let's talk about what's good about it first, which is the increased speed, allowing you to send an emergency orb towards an ally in the distance much faster than before. So this is great for the only ranged healing part of her kit other than her ultimate. As for the bad, the damage part of her kit takes a hit, with the reduced damage radius now allowing enemies to more easily disengage from the orb's damage, plus the reduced duration of the orb now means that there are 3 fewer seconds for the orb to zoom around the map and, through sheer luck or skill or whatever you want to call it, somehow get an elimination. This also means that there is now up to a 3-second downtime between orbs, as the duration of the orb no longer matches its 10-second cooldown. Moira players will have to think more carefully about where they deploy their orbs now, but overall, I think it shouldn't matter too much for those that were already clever about it. The last support hero to receive a change this patch is Zenyatta, whose Discord orb has been bumped back up to a 30% damage increase, up from 25%. Now, Zenyatta is my favorite hero and definitely my main if it's a viable meta, but while I mentioned healing creep being a problem, I think damage creep is also a very real issue in this game. Keep in mind that while a 5% damage increase does not significantly shift the damage breakpoints for Zenyatta, there is still a whole lot more damage coming from the rest of the team. I view Zenyatta as one of those finely balanced heroes that obviously rotates in and out of certain metas, but when positioned in the right one can be an absolutely monstrous carry hero. However, with Mercy's slight healing buff, I'm actually kind of curious to see if we might revisit the old Mercy Zen dive backline should these changes make it to live. So that's it for the supports. Now let's talk about the other 2 heroes, starting with Bastian? Okay, straight up, I'm just gonna put it out there that the higher up the ladder you go, the worse Bastian becomes. And boy, are they ever a dumpster fire at higher ranks. The game has evolved to a point where there's just so much more mobility, poke damage, and sustain nowadays that it's just that much harder to pilot a Bastion effectively. Anyway, both its sentry gun and self-repair ability have been buffed, with its gun receiving a 10% spread reduction and also achieving a maximum spread reduction after 40 shots, down from 60. Its self-repair resource drain rate has been increased by 20%, but to compensate, it has an equal percentage increase to its healing per second, increasing it from 75 to 90. The sentry gun buff is pretty freaking awesome at longer ranges, particularly against smaller heroes, because while tracking isn't really too hard with Bastion at set ranges, players are at the mercy of the gun's spread. So an overall reduction plus faster tightening of it is really nice. In a way, it kind of allows for a more consistent damage output while still remaining about the same in effectiveness against barriers. And in regards to self-repair, the increased self-healing output is pretty significant in allowing Bastian to kind of effectively face tank, no pun intended, more large bursts of damage. But if my math is anything to go by, this does not change the max healing that can be done with a full resource bar, which remains at 300 HP. So if you're stubborn and want to sit in one place the whole time as you're getting damaged, at least you have a little bit more survivability. Okay, we're almost done. The last change this patch is to Junkrat. His frag launcher projectiles now maintain slightly more velocity on ricochet, and his concussion's mine projectile speed has been increased from 20 to 25 and has its ricochet distance off enemy players greatly reduced. Plus, his total mayhem bomb detonation time has been reduced from 1 to 0.7 seconds and its spread increased by 50%. The frag launcher projectile change is a buff, I think, though I can think of some situations where it can be kind of a nerf, such as trying to backboard bounce some grenades behind an enemy barrier, but I don't think it should matter too much. In terms of creatively shooting and bouncing them around corners, this is very much a buff, allowing the bombs to travel further after bouncing, covering more area. The changes to his concussion mine are also a buff, I think, with the thought process being that you would be able to reach a target with it faster, plus if you somehow didn't manage to detonate it as it neared them, at least it would bounce off and practically fall to their feet as opposed to landing somewhere else. Boing! It's a neat change with the increased projectile speed being the key factor here. As for his total mayhem, the reduced bomb detonation time plus spread increase is definitely a buff, though I do feel that the effectiveness of it is still very much reliant on luck or an opponent making a mistake. Anyway, that's it for this experimental cart. Thanks everyone for watching, and I don't say this a lot, but if you enjoyed this video, do leave a like and please consider subscribing because it really does help the channel grow. I've seen a lot of new faces to this channel in the comments, but most aren't even subscribed, and well, it kind of makes me sad. And subscribing is free, so costs you nothing. But whatever. Take care, everyone.